Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all having a great day. And I think I've talked enough about working with music on a computer. I've literally spent the last probably hour or so messing around with music apps for your phone. So let's get into it. Okay, so I understand that most of y'all probably don't have the money to shell out for a fully fledged DAW, which stands for Digital Audio Workstation, which is like the program that I'm currently using. In fact, I still haven't shelled out the money for it. I'm still working on the trial version, which is fully featured. It just locks down after so long. So I've talked about some apps that you can use for music making before, but I don't think I've made like a definitive video on it. So here's some things that I gathered from the internets on music apps that you can use at home, and I figured that apps are a lot more accessible than computer programs because I feel like these days, which is crazy, a lot more people have these small smart devices than people have desktop computers. So let's get started with number 1 and 2. They're pretty much the same thing. BandLab and Soundtrap. I've mentioned BandLab before, but I forgot that Soundtrap had a mobile app. I've used Soundtrap. It's a browser-based program, kind of like BandLab is. I haven't used their apps before, but let's start with BandLab. So as you can see here, I mean, it looks pretty simple. You can click on your creation. They have these loops. They have creator kits. You can start with voice and mic. You can start with a looper, MIDI instruments, guitar, bass. Let's start with a bass. I was expecting like a thing to play bass on. Maybe not. Maybe you're just supposed to come up with the bass sound yourself. Okay, never mind, scratch that. I lied. Let's try the MIDI instruments. That's probably what you're supposed to do. Anyway, like it should be a pretty fully function for an app. Yeah. You can just start with the pieces to a track. If you want to, oh my gosh, if you want to check out like the track in its entirety, yeah, there it is. I don't know. However, I do have a thing I can demo. So I actually a while ago made this in BandLab, so if you guys want a feeling of what BandLab can sound like, then here you go. Going for like this really melancholy kind of vibe. I started it by like doing a piano progression and just kind of went from there. I honestly still want to turn that idea into a song. Anyway, so there's BandLab, and Soundtrap is pretty much the same. But yeah, so when you start a project in Soundtrap, they have a bunch of demos that you can pick. It's not too hard. You can start with a blank slate. You can add a bunch of different tracks. It's very similar to BandLab, just has you add in all your different instruments. And from what I remember on the desktop browser-based version, they're pretty functional. So I'd imagine the apps have about the same functionality. And if you want to hear my demo for this, here we go. I've made this in Soundtrap. It's a little rough. Yeah, you get the idea. That gives you a brief, that gives you a pretty brief idea of what the kind of sounds you can achieve from these two apps. I liked them. I used them before I found my Ableton app and had a desktop computer. So if you don't have a desktop, but you do have an iPad or a phone or something like that, these are great apps to use. Okay, next up we've got 2 Android-only rhythm-based apps that I found, and I'm going to follow this up with 2 iOS-only apps. I know I'm an Android user, but I don't want to just make this an Android only video, but so let's get into these. First one I found is a pretty cool one called Rhythm Stomper. Alright, so this is Rhythm Stomper. If you've ever seen a drum machine, this probably looks familiar to you. If you haven't, then you have no idea what this is. So that's a little beat I designed on my own, but this is what's called a step sequencer. So it has a whole bunch of different sounds in it, and you basically just go to these different tabs that make up the sounds. And then these 16 little bars represent a 16th note. Each one represents a 16th note in a four bar loop. So if I wanted to tap every single one of these, then I would have this bass drum sound play in straight 16th notes. So you get the idea. Yeah, so you would just like go into your different sounds. You can do it, ads. It's probably easier to visualize when you do it on the sampler track grid, because then you get to see all the sounds at the same time. But yeah, so that's a really good app to come up with some pretty cool drum grooves. I really like step sequencers because I don't play drums, so seeing this in like a quantifiable physical form is really cool. I like drum machines. Okay, next up we've got MPC Drum Machine 3. This is just like a mock app of a piece of music equipment called the MPC sampler. They've made a few series of MPC samplers. They're made by a manufacturer called Akai, AKAI, if I'm pronouncing that right. But it's basically just a thing where you load in a bunch of sample sets and it gives you 16 pads, and you assign different sound to a pad, so then you can like that kind of thing. Just make a cool drum beat. Sadly, these Android apps don't really have anything to do with music, like the musical part of music. It's just the rhythm part of music, but they're still really cool apps. If you like getting into just a cool little drum groove, these are cool apps to check out. Next, I'm borrowing Audrey's phone for this, but I'm going to show you some iOS apps I found. They're actually both made by the same people. One's more simple, one is not. So the first app is called Figure, and the reason this one's really easy is because it figures out all like the music theory kind of stuff for you. You can pick rhythms on your thing, and I guess you can disable it so that you can do it yourself, but if you set it to like a rhythm, then you just hold your finger down and it'll do the rhythm. So you can put it on hold note, so it'll just play one note every one bar. You can set it on like 10, and it gives you like a complex rhythm. And this is something I was doing earlier. It's like super easy. It's like about as easy as like music making gets. I mean, people who are super into like music production prefer motor control over this, but I mean, is everybody that like super into it? We all know that some people just want a good jam, so if you need a good jam, Figure's a good way to go. Alright, the next one is a little more fleshed out, kind of like BandLab and Soundtrap is. This one is called Reason Compact. This was made by a company, I think they're called Propellerhead. I'm not entirely sure. They might have just gotten rid of that name branding forever ago, but there is a fully fledged DAW called Reason, and so this is like the mobile free version of Reason, and I haven't really messed around with it a whole lot, kind of like I didn't mess around with the app versions of BandLab and Soundtrap too much, but I've used those programs before. But this one like sounds really good. This is a trap demo. So I think if you delve into like the drums, If you delve into the drums, it gives you some just basic pads. That kind of thing. So, and you can do that. There's the little recording button on here. I mean, that made it terrible, but you know. I don't know if it saved my recording, but hey. Yeah, pretty, like, it's like a really cool way of making music. It's super similar to Figure. Oh, I forgot to mention, this is made by the same people that make Figure. This is just like Figure, but like a tiny bit more complicated. Disclaimer, you will need to make accounts to sign up to Figure, to be able to use Figure and Reason Compact. So be on the lookout for that. The other apps I mentioned, I don't think you need, actually never mind. You do need accounts for BandLab and Soundtrap as well, but you do not need accounts for G-Stomper or MPC Machine Free. And for the last app, if you've been thinking this whole time, hey, I don't really want to worry about trying to create the drum rhythm, I don't really want to worry about trying to create the melodies to these songs, I just want to jam. If you had that thought, you might be a DJ. Alright, so this last app is called GroovePad, and in this app you don't actually make any of the music yourself. These are all like preloaded sound packs, but you do get to DJ, as in you can cue different kinds of parts of the song. If you don't feel that beat, try a different one. Add a synth. Add your bass. Add some effects. I mean, it doesn't have the same effect if you use it every bar. Anyway, you get the idea. Super easy. If you want just a good jam session, you don't really want to have to think about what you're doing, you just want to listen to cool music, this app's pretty cool. And that's it. Also, I forgot to mention, GroovePad is available on both Android and iOS. So is BandLab and Soundtrap. G-Stomper, MPC, Android only. Figure, Reason Compact, iOS only, I think. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Hopefully you liked this style of video, and if you want to see more of it, comment down below. Let me know if this video was helpful to you, yada yada yada, and so on and so forth, and I'll see y'all next time.
You said the same thing I told ya. My eyes are clear, there's no secret.